Hello everyone, and welcome back to another forecast update. Tonight we'll be talking about Tropical Storm Francine, and we'll be looking at the impacts that are to come from Francine, and we'll just be breaking down each of the models, not each, but most of the models that we'll be looking at Francine and just seeing how Francine will play out, how strong will Francine get before making landfall. And we'll just be looking at all those different factors and just taking a large look at Francine and looking at some of the major impacts. But if any of, I don't say this much, but if any of y'all are new to the channel, I would really appreciate it if y'all would subscribe or like the video. And if you're new, then if you're new to the channel, then I do forecasts like this, and I've been trying to do more recently, but I try to do forecasts like this to give more information and put more information out. And I just really like doing forecasts like this because I'm really interested in weather stuff like this, and I try my best with these forecasts, but they're not going to be perfect by any means, and I try to improve with each video, so I would really appreciate that. But let's go ahead and get started. So as of the 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time update, this is the 6th advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Francine is currently a 65 mile per hour tropical storm moving north-northwest at 5 miles per hour right now. And so here's the 5-day cone, and so pretty much by the time some of y'all might be watching this, Francine will probably be a hurricane, but as I said, it is a tropical storm right now, and so Francine will continue to kind of go north-northwest for a little bit and then make a turn towards make a northeast turn actually, and then head towards Louisiana. And then as you can see here, in Louisiana we have many watches and warnings up. We have tropical storm warnings up for much of southeast Louisiana, and then tropical storm watches up for basically the entire coast and marsh swamps actually of Louisiana. And then farther west of the of my cursor right here, we do have hurricane warnings up for quite a bit of the Louisiana coast here, and then into Texas here we do have a tropical storm warning up there. And then to the west and southwest of this warning here, we have pretty much the entire coastline of Texas with a tropical storm watch at this time. And then we have a tropical storm warning into parts of southeast Texas, where Francine is closer right now. But Francine is currently expected to make a landfall somewhere in Louisiana as of the 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time update from the National Hurricane Center. And so we'll look at some models in just a second to kind of see where the landfall might be and just get a better look at Francine. So now looking at the peak storm surge forecast from the National Hurricane Center. And so looking here, we'll start towards Mississippi. So looking at Lake Pontchartrain and Lake Maurepas, and near the Mississippi and Alabama border there, we have 2 to 4 feet of storm surge expected there. And then from the mouth of the Mississippi River to Port Fortune is 4 to 7 feet of storm surge. And then Vermilion Bay is 5 to 10 feet of storm surge. And then from Cameron to High Island is 3 to 5 feet. And then we have up to 3 feet farther inland. And then in the Galveston Bay, 1 to 3 feet is expected all the way from High Island down to the mouth of the Rio Grande. Now looking at the rainfall forecast for the next 5 days. So that'll be from Monday, tonight's update, 8:31, or actually the 8:31 p.m. Central Daylight Time update, all the way through Saturday at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And so Louisiana will probably see the most rain. So in some spots in Louisiana, in southern Louisiana, you could see all the way from 6 to 8 inches of rain. Lake Charles, 4 to 6 inches. New Orleans, 4 to 6. Into the marshes and swamps of Louisiana, some spots seeing 6 to 8. There's an isolated spot of 8 to 12. And then right off the coast, so I don't think this is into Louisiana, but just right off the coast of Louisiana, there's a spot of 8 to 12 inches there. And then farther inland, there's a large swath of 4 to 6 inch rainfall forecast there. And then an isolated spot in two parts of southwest Mississippi, 6 to 8 inches there. And then a large area outside of that of 2 to 4 inches, and then an even larger area outside of that, even all the way from Arkansas, even into spots of western South Carolina and North Carolina, could see 1 to 2 inches of rain. And then even farther north into some of the Midwestern states. Now, quickly looking at flash flooding potential, we do have a large area of a moderate, at least 40% chance of flash flood guidance being exceeded in this area here. And then outside of that is a slight risk, and that is a 15%, at least 15%. And then that goes even into spots into southeast Texas, into places like Brownsville, and then a marginal risk outside of that as well, all the way from parts of southeastern Texas all the way into spots in even Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, farther north into Illinois and Indiana, as well as spots in Missouri. Real quick, we'll look at Zoom Earth, and you can better see Francine here. I'll zoom out so you can see a little bit better there, but there's the cone from the National Hurricane Center. And again, this is expected to be a hurricane by tomorrow morning, and then before it reaches Louisiana, it is expected to be a 100 mile per hour category 2 hurricane. And so by basically Wednesday at noon, it'll reach the category 2 level, and then sometime probably on Wednesday it should make a landfall, but we'll talk about that in just a second with the models. Now looking at the models here, first we'll start off with the 18Z GFS, and that'll be this will be the afternoon run. So we don't have any more runs that are any more recent than the 18Z. So most of the runs I'll be using tonight will be 18Z. Some might be 12Z, which is the morning run, but most will be 18Z. But first here we look at the 18Z GFS. As you can see, Francine there, and the GFS does not show really much strengthening, and so I think the GFS is kind of underdoing the intensification of Francine, and so it only has it at a 994 millibar storm tomorrow midday, and I really don't think this will. I really don't think this will happen. It'll be better if it stays at a higher millibar by this time, but I do not think it'll be a 994. I think it'll be a lower millibar and higher wind speed storm with higher wind speeds, And then we have, looking here still, by tomorrow night, it is expected to be basically a category 1 hurricane by this time on the GFS, and then it keeps going, and the GFS shows it strengthening the most before it makes landfall early on Wednesday, and it goes from a 985 Wednesday to early on Wednesday to a 978 Wednesday morning, and it continues, and then eventually makes a landfall and is a peak 971 millibar storm right before landfall. So that would pretty much be a category, kind of like a category 2 hurricane, and then by landfall, it would weaken into a kind of a lower end Category 2 hurricane, but it shows it getting to a 971 millibar storm there, and the classification for a Category 3 storm would be a 964 millibar threshold there. So it does show it getting quite strong, but do I think it'll get to a Category 3 hurricane? I'm not too sure, because we still have plenty to figure out between now and Wednesday. A lot could happen between them, but going back to this, it does have it making landfall there into kind of the central coastline of Louisiana, kind of into the marsh areas, and then it goes inland and weakens quite fast as it goes inland, and then will continue through Mississippi, go up into Arkansas and Tennessee, and then just dwindle out. Now we'll look at our low-level jet, our 850 millibar winds, and so if we look at this, this storm will definitely have a strong low-level wind field, and that's another concern, is the tornado threat with this storm, because on the eastern side there will be a kind of a potent low-level jet into Mississippi and Alabama, as well as even the panhandle of Florida there. And I do think this might be a problem with kind of your tornado threats, because you'll have this strong low-level jet. And then just quickly we'll look at surface-based CAPE. There isn't a lot of surface-based CAPE, but again, I do think that will the tornado threat will still be a little bit of a problem. Even if we look at, let's go here, you have a little bit of low-level jets into the panhandle there in southern Alabama, but the instability is staying well to the south there, so that would be a good thing. But still, I do think there'll be a little bit of a tornado threat with that. And then switching back, we'll go look at the 250 millibar winds. And so this storm won't really but it won't get into an area of higher upper level winds until it gets farther inland. And really right now it's in a great spot as far as upper level winds go for strengthening, because there's not really any shear affecting it negatively. But when you get it closer to Louisiana, it does encounter some shear, especially right here. That'd be basically feeding into the storm and weakening it quite a bit. And then eventually you can see all this 250 millibar winds here, all of the 250 millibar winds, excuse me. But really that's not too much of a concern before it gets to land. And then another thing that is interesting to look at is the dry air that's actually going to be around the storm, and that'll be one of the factors kind of limiting it from strengthening any further, excuse me. But you see all this dry air around it, and that's getting into the circulation. But the real question is, will it be able to surround itself in enough moisture so it continues to strengthen, or will it get drier around it and prevent it from strengthening any further? So that'll be the major thing to watch, especially not really tomorrow, but on Wednesday. Wednesday will be the big day to see if it'll strengthen any more. And honestly, the dry air is the main factor from limiting this Francine from strengthening any further, because the sea surface temperatures in this area are well warm enough for development. And there's not going to really be any upper level winds affecting it until it gets inland. And so as you can see there is some dry air getting into that circulation there when it gets to Louisiana. But I think that's about it for the GFS. So there's that as it gets farther inland. And now we'll go look at the European model. And we'll look at the we can look at the 18Z. And so here's the European model. Again, it has this. We'll go to basically right now. Does this have this Francine quite a bit higher millibar than it actually is? It is currently a 992 storm as I'm recording this video, but again, it does not have this strengthening a lot from tonight, into tomorrow morning. And then by tomorrow morning, it's a 997, continues tomorrow evening, 995, 992, and then a 990 by tomorrow night. And then it doesn't really strengthen it much, and then it kind of starts to strengthen a little bit more, and then by the time it reaches Louisiana, it's a 979 millibar storm, and this would have it reaching Louisiana midday on Wednesday. And I forgot to kind of mention this on the GFS. The GFS kind of has it making a landfall Wednesday night, but the European has it making a landfall sometime maybe midday on Wednesday. And then it goes on farther inland, and then as you can see, it goes through Louisiana, and then into the eye, might go into Mississippi there a little bit, and then to stay on the Louisiana-Mississippi border, continue to go north, and then eventually go into Arkansas, and then still remains kind of stronger than the GFS is showing. It's already, not already, but it's still a 992 storm, 992 millibar storm by the time it's in Arkansas. The GFS has it a 999, and then basically a 1001 millibar storm. So the European likes the idea of it not weakening as quick on when it gets inland, but it does have it a little bit weaker. Just barely weaker than the GFS is showing there. And then now look at the same thing. Same stuff we looked at on the GFS. We'll look at the 850 millibar winds here, and again, this will have a strong low-level jet here, and the wind field is quite large too. It really all the way from Arkansas into even spots into Georgia and eastern Tennessee there. And now we'll go back, look at our 250 millibar winds here. And so the Euro doesn't have as much or as high of 250 millibar wind speeds and upper level winds hitting this system. So I do think that would be one of the reasons why it doesn't weaken as fast, because it doesn't have a lot of wind shear going against it until it gets kind of farther north. And I think that's one of the reasons it's staying at a lower millibar as it goes inland. And then again, we'll look at our relative humidity values, and the Euro, I think, has the dry air farther into the circulation. It has it basically touching the L here, the low pressure, and then that's pretty much getting into the storm by that point. But and I do think it has it, that dry air getting into it a little bit quicker as well. The GFS still has it surrounded by that moisture. The Euro does not by the same time on Wednesday. So that's another thing to continue to look at. And now we'll switch again. We'll look at the Canadian model real quick. And I'm not a big fan of what the Canadian model shows for Francine, because it still has it only at a 995 millibar storm. It may be right, but I just don't like its solution as well as the other models. Yeah, it's kind of weird how it's playing Francine out. It has it at a 995 low pressure right before landfall, and then it somehow strengthens enough to go down to 992, and it's already on land. So, but there's a Canadian just for that too. I'll show it. But we'll look at the icon as well. And so the 0Z run is still coming out. It's only 3 hours out, so there's not going to be any we can really see on that. So we'll have to go to the 18Z The icon, really, I mean, it's, I would say, almost split between the GFS and European, but it still has it by on Tuesday night as a 991 storm, and then further into Wednesday, early on Wednesday 999, early Wednesday morning, and then by again on Wednesday morning it has it as a 984 millibar storm, and then gets it farther, and then basically makes a landfall by midday on Wednesday, similar to the European, I believe it was. Yeah, the European. But it does have it as a 984 by Wednesday, right before landfall, and then at landfall we can still 988 millibar. So we really can't look at the same stuff on the icon that we did the other models, but then it continues up, goes into Mississippi, continues up, goes into the low goes into Tennessee, Arkansas, and then eventually just weakens there. And then besides looking at those models, that'll be it for the global models. So now we'll look at some of the hurricane models, and we'll look at the HWRF model right now. And so we'll go back to right now pretty much. So as a 991 storm, pretty much right now. So that's pretty accurate. And then it continues to go north, and then it has it strengthening quite a bit all the way down to 974 millibar storm by Tuesday evening. Continues 972 Tuesday night. Early Wednesday morning, 967 millibar storm, 965 there, and then it continues to go farther and farther up north, and then early Wednesday morning 966, and then I believe that's 965 right there, I think, and then 969. But yeah, the HWRF or HWRF, however you want to say it, does have this quite a bit stronger. So this would be a high-end category 2 right here upon landfall. But this would basically be the worst case solution here, as it would get to that point and strengthen that much. So that would be the worst case scenario. But let's see, we'll look at the relative humidity values on the HWRF model, and it doesn't have that dry air really into the circulation as much as the other models. It has it, pretty far to the southwest and to the west of it, and then you can see there's still a area of very moist air into Francine. But again, that's just something else to watch. And then we'll look at the HMON model, or HMON model, however you want to say it. Has it at a 986 by 988 right now. Has it a little bit stronger than what it's showing, or than what it is right now. 986 by early tomorrow morning, 980. Basically tomorrow morning, 979. Continues 966 already by tomorrow night, and then 964, 960, 958, and this would be early Wednesday morning already in 958, 961. It does begin to weaken a little bit, because as you can see, there's a little bit of dry air showing up there on the HMON model into the eye of the storm, and so it goes to a 960 and then a 964 upon landfall. Again, this would be the worst case scenario for Francine, because it just creates this environment around it where it has enough moisture to where it really doesn't strengthen rapidly at this point where the dry air is getting in, but it doesn't weaken a whole lot, and then it continues and is still basically a category 3 hurricane upon landfall. So again, that'd be the worst case scenario. And then we'll look at one more real quick. We'll look at the HAFSA or the HAFSA, however you want to say it. And then we'll go to right now. And so it is a 997 shown up here, and then it goes to a 999. I'm gonna switch this back to the radar real quick, and then now here's the mode I should have been looking at, but it goes to a 999, 997, and then I'm not sure what that says there. It's kind of all 996, 990, and then it goes to a 991, 990, 981, 993, 981 by tomorrow night, 976, 975, 977 Wednesday morning, continues 978 Wednesday afternoon, 977 Wednesday evening, and then a 982 upon landfall Wednesday night. So this will be the better scenario here. We'll look at our relative humidity values again, and so here you can see the dry air gets much farther into basically the eye of the storm, and you can see all that dry air around it too. Yeah, that's basically the main stuff to look at. And then here's our level jet. I didn't show this with the other models, but I don't really like showing it with the hurricane models. But again, it'd be a lot better if the dry air got into the circulation before it made landfall, so it could weaken a little more. But if it does not, then we might have a stronger hurricane that could hit Louisiana. So hopefully this does not happen. Hopefully Francine stays a category 2 or lower, hopefully a category 1. That'll be it for the looking at the models for tonight. So now finally looking at the 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center. Looking at our two areas in the Central Atlantic, and then there's Francine there. But looking at these areas here, one area does have a 40% chance of developing into a tropical cyclone within the next 7 days, and that area to the east has a 70% chance of developing into a tropical cyclone within the next 7 days. And so these areas aren't really forecast to affect any of the areas, but still we may need to continue to watch them as they get farther out into the Atlantic, and just see how they play out, if they'll go north or if they'll continue to kind of go a little bit farther west. But they're really not forecasted to affect any of the areas right now, so that's definitely a good thing. And this area here with the 70% chance of developing looks like it'll go pretty much out to sea, out into the Atlantic, and really won't affect anybody at this time. But just something else to look at. But again, not really anything to worry about with these areas here. So that's going to be it for tonight's update. I do appreciate all of y'all watching, and if you live in the cone of uncertainty right now, again, or not even right now, but if you live in the cone or any of the surrounding areas around the cone, I would definitely continue to watch Francine and stay up to date with your local forecast offices and your local weather stations. But again, I do appreciate all of y'all watching, and I don't say this much, but if y'all would consider subscribing or liking the video, I would truly appreciate it, and it would help me out a lot. It just gets my videos out farther into the algorithm, so more people will be able to see it. And again, I know my forecasts are not perfect at all, and I would say they're far from perfect, but I do really want to improve these forecasts over the next few days, weeks, months, however long I'm doing these. But I really do want to continue to do these forecasts for a while, and so I am going to try to get more have more consecutive forecasts, so they're not so sporadic, and but I am gonna try to get more organized and have a more, not consecutive, consistent upload schedule. That's what I was trying to think of. But again, I do appreciate all of y'all watching, and it really does mean a lot to me if y'all watch to the end or even click on the video at all. But that'll be it for tonight's update, and I hope y'all, or I will, I might have another video tomorrow, but I'm gonna try my best to have one out sometime on Wednesday before landfall. But if I can, I'll try to get one out tomorrow, but Wednesday for sure. So watch out for a video on Wednesday. It'll probably be Wednesday evening or Wednesday night, but really before landfall would be good. But I won't be able to video probably any time before 3 p.m. on Wednesday, but I'll try my best to. But again, I do appreciate all of you watching, and I hope y'all have a great night.